Yeah, thanks, Steve, for the opportunity to present and sort of to introduce myself and to discuss why I'm here talking on behalf of Bases. I'm Adam Grainger, and I said to Steve I wanted to make it clear from the start. I'm not employed by Bases. I am the Sport and Performance Division Chair in a voluntary role. I've been in this post now 4 years, and we we are here talking today because originally this sort of webinar came into fruition because the Sport and Performance Division had a webinar cancelled last week, obviously due to coronavirus issues. And therefore, Steve, myself, Ibrahim, James, Ibrahim Akibat, James Malone, etc., some of the people you've already heard from today, discussed, well, what can we do? And hence why Bases have an involvement in today, not just some of the presenters, but just, helping Steve set this up. But, big thanks has to go to obviously Steve and the presenters that have put forward. And, I personally am really proud of, the industry we work in, that we were able to throw this together at late notice. And it's been very good so far. So, I want to kind of present today, the who, what, and the why of Bases. I understand there's viewers from all over the world at present, and I want to explain, who Bases are and the Sport and Performance Division, the direction we want to go in at present with that. So, to be discussed in my short presentation, because I understand I'm not trying to, as I say, do a sales pitch, and also I know I'm this last presenter in the second half, should we call it? So basically, all I wanted to discuss really was, who are Bases, who and what is the Bases Sport and Performance Division, why are the Bases Sport and Performance Division involved today, which I've discussed, the future plans for our division, and then CPD and all the relevant sort of interests that would maybe in some ways encourage people to join as a member, but also the Sport and Performance Division more specifically. And then lastly, I'll just sort of touch upon collecting CPD points for today for those members that would be looking for them. So Bases, for those that don't know, is the British Association of Sport and Exercise Science. It's a professional body associated with sport and exercise in the UK. Essentially, it promotes excellence in sport and exercise across a variety of topics, research, maintenance of professional standards, endorsement schemes across higher education, career resources, and working with industry partners while also providing CPD. Throughout the next 10 minutes, I'm going to kind of touch upon a few of those and hopefully give you an insight into the work that's been going on and the work that's planned in the future. At present, Bases has over 2,500 members, when we in the UK are the largest sport and exercise science network. We provide, forums and facilitate communication, as I said, for a variety of people, not just us sport and performance people with our sort of performance heads on, but undergraduate students, postgrads, PhD students, academics, applied practitioners, physiologists, etc. So we are a wide variety of people all working together, but I, with my selfish performance head, hopefully like some of you listeners out there, would like to see there being more performance aspect to Bases, and that's some of what I would like to touch upon today. Within the structure and the governance of Bases, just a quick slide on that. Try not to dwell too much time on this, but I think it just gives you some context to who we are. We have a chair of the association who is Professor Richard Tong, who is an academic working in Wales. We also now have a more recently appointed Bases executive director, and interestingly, he's actually an ex-Olympian. He was a long-distance swimmer, a guy, Ian Wilson, and he's recently taken on the post to start drive performance side because he gets the performance side. And we then have 5 division chairs, and I'll discuss those divisions in a second. With 2 non-executive directors from outside of sport, but who have interest in sport, who help provide us as Bases a direction upon our strategy and where we need to go and where we want to go. So essentially, the 5 divisions, I've listed them down there below, with the division which I lead on being the bottom one, but essentially you can see the wide variety of divisions, you know, your biomechanics and motor behavior, and there would be a lot of performance people in any of these divisions, physical activity and health, physiology, nutrition, psychology, and then the sport and performance division. So sport and performance division is very broad in the sense that it would cross over many of the divisions above it, but specifically in that division, you would get more of the people that are obviously, you know, connecting here now on this webinar. So as I said, with the divisions, I've deliberately kind of put a little picture at the bottom there. If the sport and performance division on the bottom right is the little red man in the picture, in some ways, and I would agree with this, the sport and performance division sometimes feels like they sit outside of bases and the divisions. And typically for people who've engaged with bases recently, I would agree with you that there has been some element of perhaps not enough performance focus to the workshops, annual conference, website, whatever. And that's really a big challenge that we've been trying to push forward, because as we all know, working in you know, applied settings or research settings, and hence the title of this presentation, you know, multidisciplinary teams and sport performance, we cover so many of a variety of those divisions, and essentially we need to get that little red dot back into that circle, not just in the sense of bases, but in the sense of many things. But I would like to say that I do understand that there has a lack of performance insight in bases, and it's something myself, the division, I'm sure a lot of you guys would like to see it change. So who are the bases division? I'll go on to the individuals in a second, but essentially we're 5 members, and our strategic priorities are to develop, maintain and execute a division strategy, leads the planning and implementation of the project's activities, coordinate and develop a division network, which today is a big part of, develop a CPD program of workshops, webinars and courses, and they have developed very well recently, identify and develop resources, engage and cater for sport and exercise science students, and represent the interests of the division members on the board. So obviously through myself and our deputy chair, we do try and put your views forward. Within our division at present, we have myself, who's chair. We have a deputy chair, Joshua Vwas, who works in EIS, so again, another applied practitioner. We have Ibrahim Akubat, who you've heard about earlier, who's our CPD rep. We've got Dr. James Malone, again, who you've heard of, who's just recently joined a membership rep. And we always carry a student rep in Hayley Noblet, who's been recently appointed as well. So good variety of academic and practical skills on show there across a variety of early stage career practitioners to those who've been around a little bit longer. So really, you know, the sport and performance division, you know, we'd like to sort of put across that it is work in progress. And what we have achieved so far originally, and this is not to blow smoke up our own trumpet, when Ibrahim and I joined the division, you know, there was no activity in the division 3 years ago. And then since then, we've had really 3 very productive division days, multiple webinars, and we've engaged and collaborated with people out there in the field. We are the only professional body with a verification of sports science standards that relate specifically to the sport and performance division, and I'll touch on those in a second. And we've agreed memorandums of agreement with many international stakeholders. Where do we want to go? We want to have more division days, and unfortunately, as I said, our most recent one was cancelled, but we want to have more and engage more with the performance community to make them really impactful for people to bring back to their environments, be that research, academic, applied, whatever. We're looking at more division podcasts and webinars, including elite sport-specific coaches, you know, not just hearing from us sports scientists, which at times can be a bit of an echo chamber. You know, we'd like to hear from coaches who are out there interpreting the data we're putting in front of them. We want to add content in our resources folder, for example, with our Premier League accreditation documents, general guides, and our websites. And we want to engage with more special interest groups and recognize and award our members for their research and achievements. Okay, so within our professional standards, I'll just quickly go through these and sort of showcase where we're at. We have essentially three accreditation pathways. We have the Sport and Exercise Scientist accreditation, which is the recognised professional standards for practicing sport and exercise scientists in the UK. And it's awarded to practitioners who develop the skills and the knowledge. We also have our HPSA, or our High Performance Sport accreditation, which is a specialist accreditation for individuals who've been in these environments for a long time and can really exhibit that upon application, with this being recognised by the British Olympic Association, BPA, and UK Sport. Then lastly, we have our Certified Exercise Practitioner, which is a professional certification providing recognition for exercise professionals. We also have a supervised experience route, and it is a program of professional development, skill acquisition, and supervision, typically lasting between 2 to 6 years. Successful completion of supervised experience results in awarding a BASES sport and science certification, and that it's good to see that now is listed on a lot of job adverts as a desired or essential skill to have. The program is open to all BASES members who have completed an undergraduate degree or similar, and it's endorsed by the Premier League and the English Institute of Sport. Within our institutional endorsements, some of you, obviously the academics out there, would have heard of BOOS, but ultimately that's our quality assurance endorsement scheme for undergraduate degree courses, ensuring the provision of high quality education and training. And our laboratory accreditation more specifically aligns to laboratories which you may see in academic or some applied settings, which gives an element of these are a gold standard accreditation and endorsement that can be aligned to the lab that's in work. Okay, within our CPD conferences, workshops, and events, like a lot of organizations, we host an annual conference, and as I explained earlier, we would like to make that more impactful for performance people, but also really for performance people like ourselves. Finding an ideal date for annual conferences when applied practitioners can be there is very difficult. We are in taking advantage of a disadvantage at present that the world's experiencing, that we are all available, but ultimately we want to continue to drive the annual conference, division days, and events. The annual conference for BASES typically has been in November of a calendar year, and that has been limiting for applied performance people, but we've also tried to make that as impactful as possible, as well as respecting the other divisions on show. But within division days and events, as I explained earlier, workshops and webinars, that's something we as BASES Sport and Performance Division really want to drive forward in the next couple of years to ensure that the performance division getting what we can on all the knowledge across all a variety of disciplines. Okay, within our industry partners, this is perhaps the most impactful, with a lot of people listening likely to be involved with some of these industry partners. But essentially, we have partnerships with the English Institute of Sport and the Premier League. With EIS, we have physiology support regards BASES accreditation or people working towards BASES accreditation, and collaboration on research projects, professional development, conferences, etc. With the Premier League, we have been committed to getting all academy sports science staff accredited with BASES, and BASES works with the Premier League on learning and development initiatives. To touch further on the Premier League partnership, this is probably our premier partnership and one that is growing and is working well at present. To give some insight on it, the Premier League obviously started their EPPP in 2012, with the BASES partnership established in 2015. In reality, what BASES are looking at is to align a level of accreditation that gives Premier League a sense of reassurance of what the quality of the staff working in their academies, to ultimately produce more homegrown players. And BASES at present, is mandated for heads of academy sports science and medicine, lead academy sports scientists, lead academy strength conditioning coach, etc. And that's really, you can see the timeline on show there of how the partnership and the accreditation system has progressed alongside the EPPP. And the the Premier League guys, Matt Green and Andy O'Boyle, you know, they're doing a great job on that, and I'll leave them to liaise with the academy Premier League staff more specifically. But this is really just a chance to sort of showcase where we're at with that, and the future of what we want to go. So with the current landscape Premier League, at present we have, you know, 20% of that staff is accredited by BASIS, with 25% enrolled on BASIS supervised experience, and 8 club and Premier League staff holding HPSA, which perhaps showcases, you know, that is the premier accreditation route that people are directed towards. But it's obviously the not easy to get, and you need to have the reputable skills. But yes, as I say, you know, the Premier League current landscape is evolving, and it's one that we want to, with BASIS, continue to develop, and we'd like to bring those collaborations closer. And in relation back to, say, workshops or webinars, etc., we'd really like to link more with Premier League and the great staff that are working in a lot of the academies or the first teams to bring a lot of that information back. With the future for our BASIS and the Premier League partnership, you know, there's kind of listed on the screen there, you can see there's other discipline accreditation pathways, regards performance analysis, or the CPAR route, specifically around psychology. Increased engagement with the scientific engagement with BASIS through, as I say, webinars, accreditations, the HPSA route, and more involvement with first team would be ideal, with the BASIS partnership agreements and safe self-sustainability model being key to this. But really, you know, Premier League input into BASIS events and BASIS CPD credits for Premier League events are obviously a direction we would like to go, and really strengthen that alignment. Within stakeholder relationships, we have memorandums of agreement, memorandums of understanding and memorandums of collaboration. Specifically, they've come along a long way in the past couple of years, where our memorandums of understanding, as you can see there, being quite worldwide now, with some really good sporting nations. For example, you can see on there, Sport and Exercise Science New Zealand, the Canadian Society of Exercise Physiology, and Institute of Management of Physical Activity, or SIMSPA, and you know, that's worked really well, with collaborations also existing between ourselves in Australia, the British Olympic Association, and British Psychology Society. So, you know, we'd like to continue to develop them, and it really brings more collaboration and more alignment and insight across all of the sort of bodies that we may work within, regardless of what discipline we involved in. Publications, as you guys are probably typically aware, you know, BASIS has a strong alignment with the Journal of Sports Science, which obviously for the, you know, getting peer-reviewed academic work out there, but they also have good resources in the sense of the Sport and Exercise Scientist is a quarterly publication, which is really, sorry, my phone's going, really insightful and brings a level of detail. But there's also expert statements which go through the quarterly publication, which end up being published in JSS, and career guidance is another good aspect for obviously our early stage practitioners. Regards membership, you know, I'm not going to dwell on this too much, because in no ways do I want this to be a sales pitch, but essentially there's membership categories to BASIS, and depending upon where you are in your career, but also where you live, will ultimately depend whether you pick one of the 5 that are listed there. Regards professional membership, like I am, or an overseas memberships for someone who's a BASIS member but doesn't live here, or typically, you know, your student or graduate membership, depending upon where you are, your career pathway. But all very beneficial, and, you know, pretty affordable really, if you look at how it works in comparison to a lot of other bodies' annual fees. But really, you know, with BASIS membership, you know, I'm not going to dwell upon too many of these because I've gone through a lot of them already. But, you know, there's specific ones I want to highlight on the screen here that I haven't already talked about. Is, you know, free subscription to the Functional Sport and Nutrition magazine, and free attendance to division days. for non-members are typically around £50. The membership is just under 100. So typically, if you attend the division day and get some insightful activity from in that, you've pretty much halfway towards paid your membership fees, considering all the other benefits of accreditation, publications, and collaboration you may get outside of just the membership itself. Okay, last couple of slides from me. CPD points for today. As this was not a BASES event, I had to sort of obviously ask, can BASES accreditation points be applied? And the good news is they can, because it was sort of a hybrid, because our event had to be cancelled and we've kind of jumped on the back of Steve and all the presenters' great work. 5 BASES CPD points can be given to presenters, with delegates able to earn 2 BASES CPD points per sessions they attended. But that's only available on completion of the post-event survey. I will share that Survey Monkey link with Steve and he can post it up there. But ultimately, for you accreditation guys out there, please obviously do claim your accreditation points on here, and keep doing so in the future.